Lazurus, Long Way from Home, episode 3. This is starting to ramp up a bit more, so we're going to keep an eye on it. All right, Lazarus. This has been a solid episode. We're trying to get further into finding out where Skinner is because, again, I like the premise of the show. Like, everybody is on the verge of, getting done in by a super drug they thought was great, and turns out it's going to take them all out in 3 years. So, with this being said, we get it, 100,000 Skinners located, and basically Elena's having to sift through all this, and she finds out there's only 3 people that could have done this and replaced all these, people's faces with Skinner's face. So one is Popcorn Wizard, other one is Doctor, was it 909, and then the Mad Screamer. Turns out she's the Mad Screamer. So we got to get more info on that. I'm very curious about her backstory as far as how she got here. But it decides, okay, we got to check Skinner's residence. So they send, I think, Leland and Chris to go check the residence, and then uh, Axel and Doug are going to check the hospital, and then check on, they're looking for Doug's mentor who might have some insight on whatever's going on. So Leland and Chris show up, and there's disguised as cleaners, and they're trying to get in and be like, "Hey, yo, we're trying to go in, get set up. We'll send you the bill if you don't want to let us in, but somebody's got to take care of cancellation fees, so on and so forth." Eventually, they get let in, and they just start snooping around, trying to find something. While they're doing that, Axel ends up getting a lead. It's like, all right, let's go check on my guy. You know, was it Jerry? Like Jerry should know what's going on, and Jerry's the leader of a homeless community. So they end up going to this homeless community, and they're looking for Jerry, and Jerry is nowhere to be found. They're like, well, "Where's Jerry? We don't know a Jerry, but Jerry's the one who runs this camp." No, Jill runs the camp. So we find out that Jerry has become Jill. So Jerry's a transgender, and with this being, Jill now, Doug and Jill, basically end up talking about stuff, and they kind of share their backgrounds. Kind of, they've had a hard upbringing. Jill mainly speaks on her kind of coming up, dealing with the system and trying to make sure people are good and taken care of here. That's one of the reasons why she runs the community as it is. While Doug is sharing his background of, you know, being a young guy and basically being told that he'll never be as good or never be a part of anything that will be of note. And he ends up lashing out and basically decking a guy who ends up being like the dean of the entire school that, he's attending. So he ends up having to drop out and not really being there. Now, with that being said, Doug is able to find the professor there that he's looking for, and he helps him in a game of chess. While doing that, they end up having a conversation, and Axel ends up playing ball with a young guy who apparently was trying to fleece him, and Axel just kind of schools him left and right, like, be careful who you try to fleece, because they make a bet for $20, and after Axel schools him, he's just disregards 20 bucks. He's like, "Hey, just be careful." And of course, the other guy's just mad and talking trash still the entire time, even though he got dominated basketball. Um, but basically, they get info on Belinda. Belinda was Skinner's grandmother, and she used to make this really great baklava that apparently no one else can make. It's sought after, like it's really, really good. So they end up doing some searching online, and they end up finding a high crime area that has been blacked out. Basically, no cameras, no nothing is really looking into that area, and it's the perfect hiding spot. Like, so teams like, all right, let's travel there. They end up getting on some kind of like box bullet train kind of thing and heading there. They'll be there in like 6 hours or something like that. So they head there mainly. Axel and Leland head there while the other two keep tabs on them, and it's Istanbul in Turkey. So they head there, and again, Leland is in the traditional garb, while Axel's kind of like, "Yeah, I'm here. We're just gonna stand out." And they eventually have to go on the run. And I say eventually, I mean almost immediately. They go on the run because they don't look the part necessarily of how everybody else is around there, so they get chased. So while they're getting chased and they're running through there, Leland gets caught, like, and because they're trying to jump on the rooftops, and he ends up falling through. And because he's dressed similarly to a Prince, one of the little girls, very excited. She's like, the prince is here, and but the guys end up showing up and taking him hostage, and they're about to looks like they're about to cut off his arm with with an axe, and he ends up blurting out that they're trying to find Belinda, and you know her baklava is what room there, and they immediately stop and they kind of know. Now Axel's coming back for Leland, so I don't think he just ditched, but they'd be like, okay, well we know who you're talking about, and he has the look of like a young kid. It could be somebody's grandson or grandson, whatever the case would be. So they take him to, an Axel to Belinda, and when they do that, it looks like they get a gift. So they're probably getting some baklava as a gift and so like that from Belinda, and they skedaddle and go about their business while Axel and Leland have a conversation while getting to enjoy some of her tasty baklava as well. So, and the whole point of doing this again, so they found her. She's on like the outskirts of town. It looks like so, just like this little place up on a hill where she can kind of see everything. And she goes over a story about basically how she raised him after his parents died. She was going through, all the stuff that he also go through because she didn't want him to kind of end up in the system. He's a sweet kid, always took care of her, all that kind of stuff. So after all this, she ends up showing them a video message that she got of him being very sincere to about how he wanted to visit, but he was unable to because things gotta kind of die down and kind of deal with whatever. So again, he seems very genuine in wanting to take care of her and look out for her. But again, for what we saw of him, he's just like very cold and callous, like, hey, you're going to die from this drug that you took, approximately 3 years. So you're ready. So Axel deduces correctly that, well, somebody's going to want to keep tabs on Belinda. They're going to want to make sure that she's good and if anything is notified. So they're searching around the little small cottage or whatever. He ends up finding a camera, and he pulls that camera out and he calls the Skinner on that camera because it's a little small wired in camera. And he's like, "Hey, yo, we're coming for you. Gonna find you. Your butt is mine. Like, I ain't playing no games." And then when that happens, Doctor 909 freaking is the one who was on the other end and pretty much took the bait. And we see Elaine, she's sitting there like, all right, well, what are we trying to do? So Elaine is like, found him, got him. We're gonna figure this in. Time for him to get wrecked. Like she's apparently about to pull some crazy hacker stuff and really, you know, get into wherever he's at and send the team after him. So I think Doug and Chris will probably go get sent after while the other two return or meet up. So solid. We're ramping up here pretty good. I want to see what they're going to do. Again, Elena's backstory is Mad Screamer. I'm very interested in what they're going to do to Dr. 909 now they have a more sufficient lead on somebody who was watching Belinda. If he was being paid to watch Belinda, if he's just a part of everything because he got the cure, because he may have taken the thing and basically he was bribed. Hey, you keep it on her, I'll give you the antidote so that you can survive. But you got to make sure that you know my grandmother is good. Like, what's going on? Now, during this entire thing, I saw something while we were at the homeless camp. There was a figure there that looked like Skinner. And when it was in question, he said that he was like a mute. He don't talk to nobody or whatever. That looked eerily like Skinner, in my opinion. That could have been him. Because best place to hide is in plain sight. Everyone's gonna start here and start looking outwards and stuff like that. They're not gonna be looking here no more. So yeah, is he hiding in plain sight? Was that him? Was there something else going on? I don't know, but I'm very interested to see. So again, show's got my attention. I'm definitely hyped to see how this is going to turn out. With I think we're down to like 26 days remaining, so plenty of time for you to hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're tuned in, and again, I'll keep coming back with these episodes as they come out and see what's going on because hey, what's the overall goal of Skinner to just get rid of everybody, or does he really think that humanity can be saved? And the only way to find out is got to find them. So that's all I got for this one. I'll catch you guys in the next one.